welcome back everybody to another Inside College Soccer podcast, and we've got a fun one today. Kendyl Baird, another staff member from SRUSA, and she's got such a great story, and she's done some really cool things. So welcome to the podcast, Kendyl.
Thanks, Don. I'm glad to be here. Excited to finally get on the SRUSA podcast.
Yeah, we've been doing Inside College Soccer. I think you'll probably be episode number 75 or 76. We're getting up close to 100
All right.
podcasts, and we've
Yeah.
done everything from Bobby Clark, who's won multiple national championships, to specialists in their field with psychology and everything. But it's always great to have former players and college
Yeah,
coaches on. I think families like to hear from college coaches, and you've got a great
definitely.
story that we'll get into. So where were
Right.
you? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm originally from Boone, North Carolina. So right there by Appalachian State, then Little Boone. So yeah, grew up there and lived there my whole life until college.
Okay, and was soccer your only sport, or did you play other sports growing up?
No, basketball was really big in my family too. My sister played both, and so I kind of followed in her footsteps. So basketball is definitely another big one for me. But just fell more in love with soccer, so I kind of, took up more with that and played that a lot more than I did basketball. But I enjoyed both for sure.
Was that just because you found like I played baseball, but I was horrible at
Hmm.
it, so I didn't like baseball. Is it because you found yourself being better in soccer and moving with it, or was there something else that attracted you to it more?
Um, I think I just loved the game a lot more. I mean, like when I was little, we had the Nintendo 64 and I would play FIFA on there, and that's how I found out that I loved Chelsea. But I just loved like playing anything that had to do with soccer. Of course, I loved basketball. I even actually quit soccer for a year to play just basketball. But in the end, yeah, I just loved soccer a lot more. And I was like, I think, like you said, this could get me somewhere. So I definitely, went with that and ran with it.
What do you think it was about soccer that made you think that attracted you to the game so much?
For me, I like even as a kid, I think it was just like realizing like how beautiful of a game it is. Like basketball, was fun. I had a lot of fun with it, but soccer was just being outside, being in the sun, being in the grass, playing with a bunch of different friends. You get 11 people on the field, so I had more people out there with me. And I think maybe that's why I enjoyed it. But yeah, it was just watching it. It was always so fascinating to me, and I just loved, kind of every aspect to it. So
Had your parents played soccer at all, or did anybody else in your family
no.
that was? No, so you were the
My
first one that
sister was
really.
it. My sister, yeah, she played, but my dad was like a softball guy, so yeah, kind of random, but we made it
Were they
work.
kind of bummed that you were not playing softball or basketball, or were they pretty
Um,
supportive?
no, they were super supportive. They like really, took it and ran with it too because they loved soccer since my sister kind of played and they really enjoyed going to games. My dad really got into it. He's a big sports guy either way. So, I mean, he could tell you stats from when I was in like fifth grade, probably. He just like, that's the kind of guy he was. They loved it. And I tried softball for a year. It was definitely not my thing. So I gave it a go for dad. But yeah, that was it.
Right on. So, did you now in North Carolina? So, what year was this that you was when was like fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade? That when was that?
So I got lucky and I get the year. So I graduated or like left fifth grade in 2005. So like going
Okay.
into 2006, yeah, sixth grade. So around that time.
Okay. And so what was the soccer scene like in your town? Because you were from a smaller town. So were you having to
Hmm.
travel to other towns to play as the levels as you ramped up?
So, I mean, we had a club in the town. Like it wasn't anything big. It wasn't any Charlotte, Raleigh, any of those. But I really enjoyed it because I knew the coaches and I was with all my best friends. For us, it just wasn't possible to like travel anywhere further. The closest one was 2 hours, which is not awful. But I really enjoyed the small town and like the small club and kind of like representing where I was from. That was something big for me. So yeah, I just played the local one for my entire growing career. Did some rec just to have fun with it, and played, high school and club every single semester. So that was
And there
fun.
was no ECNL back then, right?
No, yeah, that was like challenge, and that was like one other thing. I was like, now there's so many different acronyms I can't even keep up.
Yeah, it's crazy. I tell you, I've told this story before, I think on a podcast, but the first time maybe 2011 or 12, my first time I heard about ECNL, and my friend was at a club from Vegas that had joined, and he was telling me how excited they were to be flying out to Virginia and Delaware and to play
Mm,
against. I thought, what?
yeah,
You guys
that's
are
crazy.
you guys are two
Yeah.
hours from Los Angeles. So you're going to fly
Mhm.
the other direction when you could play the best
Yep.
teams in the country right here. Yeah, we're so
Crazy.
excited. It's like, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it didn't used to be that way, right? When you grew up
No, not at
playing, because
all.
you're about my son's age, maybe a little bit
Mhm.
younger, but it was the same thing. It was there were only a couple of options for kids to play,
There,
and then
yeah,
ODP was a
not a
big
lot.
thing.
I was gonna say ODP was like the top dog at that time, which is, yeah, it's funny to look back now and see kind of all the different levels and where ODP stands. So,
Did you ever get involved or try out for ODP?
I tried out for it, wasn't like super excited to do the whole thing. Because I guess, I was playing basketball too and had a lot of other stuff going on. So, I didn't like fully kind of jump into the whole like travel and all that soccer stuff besides like the local club. And I mean, the farthest we would go, was we were still basically in North Carolina the whole time. So, not a lot of traveling.
And that's the way it used to be. Again, for people who don't remember, but that's the way it
Mhm.
used to be. I would say you'd stay in state for the most part until
Yeah.
if your team won the state cup, then
Mhm.
you'd be talking about going to regionals.
Yeah, I mean, we made it into the Final Four. We were like a last second goal from going to the state championship game. Like that was really huge for our club because we're a smaller club, and that was one of the most fun times. But like, it's awesome because North Carolina has such a high level of soccer. So anywhere we went, we were playing against good teams. We always had to play against, NCFC, which was Castle at the time,
Right.
and so it was always the big clubs we were going up against. And I was super proud of us for making it to the Final Four. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, those that aren't from North Carolina, the NCFC is the largest single club in the United States.
Yeah, so big.
Yeah,
It's crazy to see how even much like more like bigger it's gotten. It's insane.
yeah, it's massive. My son was
Mhm.
coaching at NC State not that long ago, so
Yeah.
he was the goalkeeper coach for NCFC, and he said it was crazy.
Yeah. They have like 40 teams for every level. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's massive. So
Mhm.
what age were you when you realized that you loved the game that you wanted to continue it after high school or continue to be involved with it?
So being in like the small school, like I got lucky. It was probably seventh or eighth grade. We had a new coach come into the club that no one had really talked about recruiting before. That wasn't a thing that, we knew about. And he came in and he actually gave us like a whole lesson and gave us this whole talk and, taught us about what recruiting is and like playing at the next level. Before that, I guess it wasn't too much of like a thought because it's like, well, sure, yeah, I want to go to college, but is this possible for me? But I mean, yeah, I think once high school hit, like I was like, I want that. I want to be in college. I want to play at the next level. Like, there's no way I can let this game end after high school. So yeah, I mean, he was huge for coming in and actually showing us that we could do that, and giving us kind of the resources for it. So
So kind of walk me through that process. How'd that process go for you?
I like as much as I can remember, it was kind of like a slower process. It was kind of go out and, check out schools, and just kind of like get a feel for what the campus looks like, what you might be interested in. So my parents, drove me around. We went and visited a few schools, kind of close by. I didn't want to go too far. I think I remember going by like Carson Newman, in Tennessee. And then I actually had one of my high school teammates, her sister played at King. So I was like, let's just drive by and let's go check it out. And once I stepped on campus, I was just like, this is it. This is where I want to go. That's all it took is I just like got on campus and I had that feeling. It was like this vibe that I was like, this is where I'm meant to be. So it was pretty
So
easy after that.
what school was that?
So King University in Bristol, Tennessee. So I was only about an hour and a half from home, but yeah, it was perfect.
It's not a, that's kind of a you're it's far enough away from home to feel like you're not going to the local school,
Exactly.
but
Yep.
close enough that if things go wrong and you get homesick, you can come home on a
Hmm.
weekend and visit, right?
Yeah, because I mean, I was recruited by Elise McRae, but that was 45 minutes from home, and I was like, that's just a little too close. So like, I gotta go a little further away. But yeah, I was glad to be at least close enough that I could go home if I needed to.
So when I talk to people who have played in college, I like to I know that kids and parents listen to this podcast. I've had a number of parents that say that we listen to it like on our way to practice.
Mm.
And so how was it for you as a freshman? So first of all, were you one of the better players in high school and in club? Was it obvious to you and to everybody else around you that you were one of the top players, or were you in the middle of the pack?
Yeah, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I think I was at the top of it, so it was kind of like Kendall's gonna go on and play. So yeah, I mean, I had some other teammates, not in my class, no one else in my class went to play in college, but the classes below me, there was quite a few. So it kind of got better as the years went on, but yeah, I think it was kind of known.
So how was it for you then stepping into college? How was it different for you than the high school and the club experience?
Well, I knew I had to prove myself. Even though like I was one of the top players, like I definitely struggled with confidence and like believing in myself. So that was something that like I had to overcome and really work on. But I knew I was like, all right, like this coach wants me. That I know like he wants me to be on this team, and so I respect that and like I'm gonna show up. So being from the small town and about to step into the college world, I was like, I've got to put in extra work. I was out at the field every single day. That summer packet was my best friend, especially lots of running, lots of touches, just asking a bunch of questions to players that were already on the team just to make sure that I came in ready. So that's how I kind of prepared myself.
And what did you find it easy playing against the old players, or did you find it challenging, difficult? How was that?
I mean, it was definitely difficult. Like when they say that the college game is quicker, it's definitely a lot quicker. You think, in high school you're playing so fast, but then you step into the college game and it's just another level. So definitely like trying to get my first touchdown so I could play a lot quicker was something that I really had to focus on. I loved it though. I loved the challenge of having players, of course, that were as good as me or better. That was a lot of fun to be at that level. So yeah, I really enjoyed playing with the older ones. I actually, they kind of took me under their wing, and I was good friends with a bunch of the older, like the upperclassmen. And I think that really helped me develop along the way as well, because a lot of them were very dedicated to the game and their craft. So we always worked together, and that helped me a lot as a freshman.
Was it immediate success for you? Were you a starter right away?
I was, yes. But I wouldn't say like immediate success. I worked really hard to get that starting position. But yeah, it wasn't the immediate success. I had a pretty rough freshman year, just like not to like my standards. I wasn't scoring as many goals as I wanted to score. It wasn't the performances that I was looking for. So I had pretty rough freshman year, but I still really enjoyed the process and everything. So it just made me get better and made me work harder so I could come back for the next year.
Yeah, and so had you had dreams of playing at, UNC and or one of the bigger schools? Were when you especially when you were younger, were those dreams in your head or
I mean, to be honest, like not really. Of course, I'm a Duke fan, so I would never want to go to UNC, even if they are good.
okay? Did you have
But
dreams of
yeah,
playing for Duke?
a little bit. I think mainly I was just like, I think I know that I could play at like at least a lower level Division 1. I could have had the opportunity if I was, had a year to develop even a little bit more. But once I found King, I was like, I think D2 is probably the best fit for me because I want to do, have a lot of other things that aren't just soccer all day, every day, and like, taking over everything at the D1 level. So yeah, I think just D2 was all around just really worked out for me and was the best option.
Yeah, there's one of my favorite quotes is from Shakespeare, and he said, "Know thyself." And I think it's really important for players to understand who they are, what's important to them, and what each level is going to demand of you,
Hmm.
and to do what's important to you. And if it sounds like you did some of that introspective thought, you had some of that
Yeah.
going when trying to figure out what fit you, right?
And I wanted to be in the medical field, so I knew, trying to play Division 1 soccer and I did athletic training, so that's a lot of like internship hours. I mean, even at King, I was in the training room every moment I had that I wasn't practicing or in class. So it was very demanding in itself. So I knew, if I got to have that balance somewhere if I'm going to be, medical field stuff and soccer. So.
Right. So how'd you end up getting into coaching then? Because that's when you and I met.
Mhm.
My friend uh, Matt Mennel went out to he moved out. He was out here in California with us for
Yeah.
forever, out at LMU, and that's where I knew him from. I had players that had played for him, and then he ends up back east, and it's like, wow, okay, I haven't heard of your school. I don't know where it
Yep.
is. And he and I started talking, and then all of a sudden, you and I met because you were his assistant.
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, once I kind of did the whole like athletic training thing for a few years, I got super burnt out. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, how can I just like stay in soccer? I didn't think I like really had the opportunity to be a coach. But my head coach at King was there was like a F course, back when that was a thing, online, and he's like, like I think you should do it. Like, I think I could see you being like a good coach. Like, why don't you just take the class, see how it goes? So I did, and then I got involved with the local club there, and I just like really started to enjoy it. And I was like, oh, maybe I can like make something out of this. I was just coaching at the club level and at a high school and the local other college about 30 minutes down the road, Emory and Henry. We're looking for an assistant. And so I applied and got that job. And that's just kind of where it all started, when I was just like, okay, yeah, I think maybe I can do this coaching thing. I can make it a career. I can stay involved. So that was a lot of fun being able to realize that I could stay in the game.
Yeah. So how'd you meet Matt?
Honestly, really funny story. So, I mean, I was living in Montana because I was getting my master's of the GA at MSUB, and for the longest time, like I had really enjoyed coaching a high school boys team. I wanted to kind of stay like on the men's side of the game, and so just randomly on Twitter one day, I was like, "Hey, like, would any men's coach hire a female on the men's side?" And I get this DM from Mathis, and it's like, "Hey, I'm looking for an assistant in Asheville. Like, I'd take you." And I was like, what? I was mind blown. I was like, just Twitter brought this guy, and connected. And I was like, okay, Asheville's back close to home. I could go. I've always wanted to live in Asheville. It was one of my favorite cities growing up. So I was an easy yes for me. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was just kind of funny getting it from Twitter.
And that was where, what school was that?
So Montana State University of Billings. So I was in
No, I mean
Billings, Montana.
where Matt was
Oh,
at?
Warren Wilson.
At
Yep, Warren
Warren
Wilson
Wilson.
College.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So I moved back across the country.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's I did okay, let's be honest with me. And I know you would
Okay.
anyway, so I don't need to qualify that
All right.
question. But what were some of the challenges for a woman stepping into coaching men?
I mean, first of all, it's just people look and they're like, wait, a woman is coaching a men's team. Like, can they do it? You get a lot of criticism because you're a woman. That's just how it is in today's world. But I mean, honestly, like Warren Wilson is, I think, the school to do it. It's a great place, and I had so much support backing me. The AD was incredible. She believed in me 100%. So I think that really helped. But there's definitely challenges, especially. I mean, even when it's not face to face, I send an email, I send something, yes, sir, yep, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes. I just get a lot of that, and it's just like, oh, like, please just do your research a little bit, and you'll see that I'm a woman and I'm coaching this team. Um, but I mean, honestly, it was like I said, Warren Wilson in the area was a good spot to be. Yeah, it was difficult. I definitely had some guys that other coaches that would kind of look down on me because I was a woman, and also it's the Warren Wilson is a school that they're like, oh, who cares a little bit, which is sad. It's a really great school, but it was a lot of looking down on kind of me and the program as well. But gave me a little bit of motivation, so just to try and really work my butt off and turn that program around. But everything happens for a reason. So
How'd you deal with that emotionally? How were you able to get? 'Cause look, I kind of been there. I hired there was a player named Marcia Silva who played at Feather River College,
hmm
and where I coached after her. So she was there before me. Went
hmm
on, won a couple of NAIA national championships, did really well. An unbelievable player. And I was talking with our trainer one day, and we're looking for a men's assistant. And he said, you should consider Marcia. I think she's looking for a job. And I ended up hiring her. And
yeah,
while she
awesome.
did really, really well, I
hmm
was very happy to have her on staff. It
hmm
was really hard. I mean, like a lot of the guys, nobody was disrespectful,
hmm
but yeah, I've been coaching for 30 years.
yeah,
I can see how they're reacting in certain
yes,
situations, and I
yeah,
can feel the eyes roll, you know.
yes,
And even though she could kick most of their butts, probably
hmm
uh, on the
yeah,
field, certainly she was very, very
yeah,
good. It's difficult, and her and I had a lot of heart-to-heart conversations about how to
hmm
handle it and the difference between men and women. I always said that men kind of need to know you can take them.
hmm
They kind of need to know that, and it's difficult for a woman to be in that position. And so,
yeah,
how are you able to? It couldn't have, had to be hard at times emotionally, right? In the
yeah,
privacy of your own home, alone,
yeah.
thinking, why am I doing this, or how do I handle this, and how did you get past that?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it on the head. I mean, there's definitely like never any disrespect from the guys, but I can read a room really well. I know when there's eyes rolling or there's something going on or they're not happy about something. Like it's also sorry I can't keep all of you happy, but it was difficult. Sometimes I'd go home and it's like, you're right, like why am I doing this? This is really, really hard. Like some days like it's like, don't want to go to practice tomorrow. They just gonna give me another eye roll. Like I'm working my butt off trying to help you guys. And but there were some really, really great ones and some ones that were really supportive. So I had both sides of it. It could be difficult emotionally, but it was I tried to work so hard and show them that I was trying to do everything possible to make it the best for them and try and help them grow and help the team grow. But yeah, there's just always going to be, the other side of things. So.
Yeah, I had another player named Danielle Smith who came in and was my men's assistant for a semester in the spring. And she said, her attitude was, I don't want to coach the women. I don't like the drama. I like how guys are more
Mhm.
straightforward. They'll tell you
Mhm.
straight to your face what they think of you.
Yeah.
And she liked that. Is that what attracted you to the men's side, or what seemed to
Um,
attract you to want to coach on the men's side?
yeah, I mean, like, I really enjoy like their kind of game. The men's side of the game is a lot faster. Sometimes it's a lot more physical. There's just aspects that like that's how I played when I was in college. Like that's what I want to see is like those same things. And like I always held myself to like the highest standard. And I'm not saying women don't do that, but it was like men, like they said, there's not as much drama. They have a little fight on the field and then they're shaking hands and hugging at the end of practice. Like that's probably sometimes that doesn't happen on the women's side. You can hold a grudge for a little bit longer, but I did enjoy the bluntness and just, they're gonna say exactly how they feel, and they're gonna. That's okay with me. Like that's what I enjoyed. I get along really well, like with guys on the men's side, so I just really liked that. And like the high school level, I had a great time getting to know them. They were all blunt, they were all a lot of fun, but they were just there to play and have a good time and grow. And so that's what I think maybe just drew me to that side of the game.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the fight thing because I've noticed that because a lot of years for 9 of my 22 years I coached men's college and women's simultaneously. And so, yeah, if our women had a fight, it would often, even though they'd want to let it go, I could see they
Hmm.
didn't like each other anymore. That was it.
Yeah.
The guys, it was almost the opposite. Sometimes they needed to have a good fight
Hmm.
and really get into it. And sometimes it went to fisticuffs. And once it was done, there was just a level of respect for each other that's like,
Yeah.
okay, we both stood up to each other. And they usually ended up becoming closer. So while the
Hmm.
women, it would drive them apart, the men, it would
Yep.
actually bring closer to each other. And
Yeah.
it's a
It's such a
fascinating
funny different,
observation
yeah, yeah,
of
definitely.
how we are different, right?
Yeah.
How generally men are built differently than women.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah. It
So
is
you
very
ended
it is
up,
crazy.
so Matt wasn't there. Matt wasn't there very long. two
Nope,
years
he brought me
maybe?
back across the country. Yeah, he was there for, yeah, probably about 2 years and,
Yeah.
brought me across and was there for about 2 months and then said, "I'm leaving. You should apply."
Right.
So,
And you
yeah,
applied,
switched.
and next thing I know, I'm getting a message from you going, "Hey, I'm the new head coach at Warren
Yeah,
Wilson. If you've got
happened
any
real fast.
players, let us know." And I said,
Mhm.
"Holy crap, she got the job. Good for her."
Yeah. Yeah, it was so fast. I mean, I moved across the country. I think we got to Asheville in February. Mathis told me in April that he was leaving, applied for the job in May and was hired and ready to go by June 1st. So it was very quick. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. As you said, you had a good athletic director who supported you and backed you, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So here
Definitely.
you are. I don't know how many. Do you know how many head men's coaches have been women in the nation, in the history of the nation? You ever
Um,
looked it
I
up?
I believe at the NCAA there were 3 of us at one time. I think that's the most. I know there are, I think, a few at the community college level, but I haven't really, like, fully looked into it. I just kinda knew Sitch and then, came up at NYU. So, yeah, that's the only 2 I kinda knew because we were the only NCAA ones.
Yeah, I can tell you that we could probably count on, definitely on our hands and feet, we could count the
Mhm.
number in the history of the NCAA.
Yeah.
So you are in rarefied air, Kendall.
Apparently, yeah. Yeah.
I find that
Crazy.
impressive. I do.
Yeah.
And I when you were talking, we'll get into it in a little bit, but when you were talking to me about coming on board with us, and I said, well, the one thing I know about you is you're fearless. Because
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
be fearless for a woman to step into that role of coaching men, especially as a head coach. It's one thing as an assistant,
Hmm.
or especially if you've got a man Mathis like I said, coached men at the highest level in the country,
Hmm.
and then
Oh
coached
yeah.
guys that have been on the national team and played pro.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to follow his lead, but it's another one to take
Hmm.
over as a leader at that level. And you're fearless. Even we'll get into your adventure right now that you
Yeah.
guys are on, but it takes guts. There's not that many people that are willing to do that and to take adventures across the country like you're doing. And
Hmm.
yeah, you're fearless is the one thing that I do you remember me
I
talking to you about
appreciate
that?
it. Yes, I remember that conversation. I do. Yeah.
So you were
Yep.
at Warren Wilson as the head coach for how many seasons?
2 seasons.
2 seasons.
Hmm.
And so what was the differences between being the assistant and being the head coach? What were the stark contrasting differences that you noticed?
Well, it's such a fast change. I went from assistant for about a month and a half in our spring season to the head coach. Um, but I mean, that was my first head coaching gig too. So it was a lot on my plate trying to like navigate the new world of being a head coach and being on the men's side. But I mean, the changes, as an assistant, I was really good at building those like personal relationships with players, just kind of being that like support and that backup for the head coach and making sure that everything's great for them. And then just going from, oh my gosh, like every decision is now mine. I'm in charge of everything. And it was kind of difficult because, we didn't have full time assistants. I had a part time that couldn't even come, every single day at all. So everything was on me. So it was a lot. It was a big change trying to navigate planning practices to budget to travel to food and just I was thrown into it because at the assistant level sure I might have helped like order some food and helped with hotels and stuff, but it wasn't all on me to figure out everything. Even from ordering new jerseys and practice gear, and I was, going as I like just going and trying to figure it out as I went. But like I said, the support I had with Warren Wilson was awesome. I just had coaches coming in that had been there for a while, that had been head coaches before, and like, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you do this, and if you need help, like they're giving me books. It was funny. The women's coach was giving me like a soccer for dummies book, and she was like, "Here, just in case you need this." But they were very supportive. It was just a massive change so quickly. But I like to say that I'm very organized, very diligent about things. So I think that really helped me, and definitely, doing the whole athletic training and soccer thing at the same time got me so organized that I was like, I got this. This is nothing. I can figure this out.
That's great. So what made you decide to step away?
I mean, I just got super burnt out. I think it was just a lot on my
Doesn't
plate,
take
and
long when you're running
yeah,
everything by yourself,
yeah,
Kendall, with no
yes, it
assistant.
is
Doesn't take long to
exhausting.
burn out at
Yes.
all.
Yeah, it was, and I was helping coach some club. I was helping coach high school. I was also doing the W League in the summer. So I didn't really give myself a break from soccer. It was just, 365 going the whole time. I kind of blame myself for that one, just continuing to do it every single day and not give myself a little bit of a break. So I just got super, burnt out from it. And a dream of mine is it's always been to travel the country and check it all out. So I was like, no better time than now. I'm still young, do it while I can. So that was the plan.
Yeah, so you guys got a trailer and decided to head out across the country, huh?
Yeah, we bought a 30-foot travel trailer camper and we're traveling the country, so it's fun.
That's great. And where are you at right now?
So we're currently in Northern California. I've never lived in California before, but it is beautiful out here. Never thought that I would live in California either. I mean, I did Montana. We lived in Washington for a little bit, but now California. And so we can, my house is on wheels, I like to say. So now I can kind of go wherever I want to. Oregon might be the next move. We'll see. But yeah, it's just fun to kind of be able to go wherever we want.
Yeah, you're in you're in Ferndale, if I'm not mistaken.
Close to
Are you still
Jenner,
in
30,
Ferndale?
yep, 30 minutes north of Jenner, which is still technically considered Jenner out here, but we're very remote in the middle of nowhere, so it's like its own place.
That's Russian River territory.
It is, yep, you're right. Right there.
Yeah, I've been rafting down the Russian River. It's great. It's a
Okay,
great
yeah.
place.
Yeah,
And
it's
of course,
beautiful.
I'm a Northern California native, so I
Mhm.
love the coast. Now you're there at the best time of the year. The weather's getting really good.
Once we get out of this windy month of May, I will I'll be much happier.
You'll hit a little bit of the June gloom where the fog comes in on the coast every morning, but
Mhm.
it usually burns off. by
Yeah.
afternoon, and then July
It
is
does it every
spectacular.
morning here. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
definitely.
that's great. So, yeah, you reached out to me about working with us at SRUSA. What
Mhm.
made you decide that that might be something you'd be interested in?
Well, I mean, I remember the first time I met you at the convention, I believe was the first time, and we just chatted, you know. I kept up with you and SRUSA, and like best part of college coaching to me was the recruiting process. I loved, you know, getting to know the players, getting to know who they are, what they want to do. Even as a high school coach, I loved being like kind of that mentor, helping who wanted to go and play in college, like help them figure out what they wanted to do. So I was basically already doing it. You know, I loved that part of it. And so then when I stepped away, I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm traveling. I can do this remotely. I've got to hit up Don. You know, he's got a good gig that I think I'd really enjoy because, you know, the recruiting process is such like a joyous time. It can be stressful. I know a lot of people get really nervous and stressed about the whole thing, but you know, I think SRUSA is just so great about how we go about things, what we offer, you know, and help place kids at the right fit. We always talk about the right fit, and I think it's so true that there is that right fit. You just got to, you know, look for it.
What does that mean to you? What does the right fit mean to you?
So for me, I mean that it like kind of checks every box for you. It's not just the soccer program. You have to look at the school. You have to look at the academics. I mean, personally, for me, like when I said I went to King and I stepped on campus and it just felt right. Like I even told kids that I was recruiting at Warren Wilson, like you're going to step on a campus and I think you're just going to know. You know, that's how it was for me. Maybe it's not for everybody, but it's like okay, well, this school has exactly what I want to do academically. I really think it's a beautiful place. There's snow, I can go skiing, or there's a beach, I can go surfing. You know, what are my favorite things to do? You know, and then looking at the team as well and being like, do I see myself fitting into this team? If you're like, heck yeah, I like this team, I like the coach, everything about this just kind of fits. I think that kind of encompasses like what the right fit is. You know, finding every single part of the school and the program and not just saying, oh, D1, that's what I want. I see myself as a D1 athlete. But it's like, okay, so what else is there? You know, that's not all it is. You're not just going to be labeled a D1 athlete. There's a lot more that encompasses soccer and college and all of that.
Yeah, I've been that phrase right fit came to me in probably 2019, right after I started. It just clicked with me one day
Mhm.
and I just started using it a lot. And now I'm sure it was used before me. I just wasn't seeing it. I wasn't seeing it on Twitter, I wasn't seeing it on the
Mhm.
internet. And I just started to talk about the right fit because all of my experiences as a player and absolutely as a coach, none of them were at the big levels, right? I was never a
Mhm.
power four coach, and
Yeah.
my stint, even my stint coaching pros was at the lower levels, and
Mhm.
um, it was in the USL ranks, and but having coached at Division two and Division three and NAIA and
Mhm.
junior colleges and city junior colleges, as well as junior
Yeah.
college up in the middle of nowhere mountains, and
Mhm.
you see these kids that are clearly Division one level. I mean,
Mhm.
top level players. They could play in the top
Yeah.
third of any division in the United States. And you hear them talk about after they've graduated or,
Mhm.
as they're getting ready to graduate, like this was the best place for me. It was the most amazing experience. And
Yeah.
I follow them on social media and I see them talking still with their friends and joking back. Their
Mhm.
friends, and I see them going to each other's weddings or I'll go to a wedding and
Yeah.
everybody shows up.
Yeah.
And it really made me realize that come on, what are the odds that any of our kids, I'm not saying kill the dream, I'm not
Mhm.
saying crap on the dream, but what are the odds that any of our kids make an actual living playing soccer? The
Yeah.
odds are astronomical. And
Very
that goes
small.
for
Yeah.
baseball, by the way. That goes for
Mhm.
American football, goes for basketball or lacrosse or swimming or
Oh
golf,
yeah.
or it goes for everything.
All of
It's
them.
the
Yeah.
elite of the elite of the elite of the elite of those kids
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
are going to make a true living at it. So,
Mhm.
the older I get, Kendall, it just makes me realize that life is really short and you need to
Mhm.
enjoy every experience that you have. And it breaks my
Absolutely.
heart to see kids go in and, okay, you made a D1 roster and now you're sitting for 2 years and they're
Mhm.
heartbroken. They're
Yeah.
heartbroken.
Yeah.
And then they realize, what did I do? Why didn't I listen to people telling me this or that? And what have I
Yeah.
done to myself? And we see the result of it in the transfer portal, Kendall, with the
Mhm. It's
transfer
insane.
portal increasing in numbers every
Yeah.
single year.
Yeah.
And we see now that we can follow these kids on social media, and we see the
Mhm.
thousands of boys and mostly girls on Twitter, but boys too. And we see them, I'm committed to Division 1. Oh, I never got to play.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
transferring.
Yeah.
And then they commit to another Division 1, and I still didn't
Mhm.
get to play. And oh, I'm
Yeah.
transferring. Now I make it into maybe a school that they had never heard of in some other
Mhm.
division, and they're playing, and they're
Yeah.
leaders, and they're
Enjoying it. Yeah.
captains, and they're building relationships. And it just made me think that it's not about the label of the division. It's not
Mhm.
about, like a Gucci belt or a Birkin purse holds
Mhm.
something anything better than my backpack does.
Yep.
My $12 backpack and the Birkin purse perform the same function. One's
Absolutely.
54,000 and one's
Mhm.
$29.
Yep.
And they
Absolutely.
perform the same function, but one is a label. And by the way,
Mhm.
I'm not crapping on anybody who's a multimillionaire and wants to spend $54,000 on a purse. It's their
Yeah.
own business how they spend their own money.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me that that makes them happy. Owning that purse makes them a
Mhm.
happy, fulfilled, sense of life person. It makes them a better
Mhm.
person, makes them a kinder person or a nicer person because they have a
Yeah.
purse, because it doesn't. It's
Yeah.
about what fits them. And it's about,
Mhm.
and that's the way I kind of look at it. And this idea of finding the right fit for a kid means helping them look at their goals at the end, at least it
Mhm.
does for me, and then helping them figure out a pathway to reach those goals
Yeah.
of what they're trying
Absolutely.
to accomplish.
Yeah, I memean, even like the right fit, you were talking about the different levels that you've coached at. It's like for coaching, I was always trying to even find like the right fit for me as a coach. Like I
100%.
honestly don't really ever want to like coach at the Division 1 level. If I ever go back to coaching, I don't think I would, just because it's Division 1 and I can put that on my resume. Sure, great. But it's where I want to go. Like I prefer kind of the small school where I can get to know everyone. I can walk around campus and know everybody by name. I'm looking for a lot of different things too. Even as a coach, I'm trying to find, that right fit. And so I try and, give that to every kid I'm working with is, like you said, what do you want to do after college? What is your goal? And a lot of mine have been medical. They want to do something medical too. So I'm like, all right, well, let's look at the schools that are going to give you the best option, that give you internships with really great places, that's going to help you succeed outside of soccer. Because, yeah, it's 4 years of soccer. You're probably not going to go on and keep playing. So, where are you going to get like the best education while also playing the game that you love for another 4 years? I mean, I keep saying, I think college was like the best 4 years of my life. Not, I'm sure there's better years coming, but it was a great time and I really loved it. And so I just want everyone else to experience that, to be able to go and, study what they really enjoy, what they're passionate about, but also get to play and have fun. Like that's all soccer is about. It's just jumping on the field with your best friends. My best friends are from college and I will always, keep in touch with them, go to weddings, do all that stuff. So I think that's super important. And I love the whole right fit, saying it's so true.
Yeah, yeah, that is good. So you're working now. So you're working with us. You've been with us for a few months, and
Hmm.
we work in teams.
Hmm.
And you're on Team Danny, we call it. So
Yeah.
it's
Team
Danny
Danny.
Reynolds.
Yeah,
How's that
absolutely.
experience been working with the crew?
Great. I really like Danny a lot, and working with Mason, we just got Mitchell to join into our little group. We have a little group text message that we have going on. I think Danny is wonderful. He's been a really great, a lot of help. If I have any sort of question, he's there to answer. He's helped me with finding players, or if I have something specific that I need, he's there to help me. I know he's considered the East Coast team. I'm from there, so I do have those connections. But living on the West Coast, it's a little different when we're in different time zones. I have to remember the whole 3 hour change. But yeah, it's been really great, and I enjoy working with all of them.
Yeah, well, originally that's why I gave you to him, because I thought you were
Yeah.
staying on the East Coast, and all of a sudden, well, I am, but I'm moving to Montana. Now I'm moving,
Yeah.
and who knows, you might be
Yep.
back on the East Coast again
Yeah.
at some
Never
point
know.
too. You
Yeah.
never know.
It
So
could change.
yeah, you're the unicorn in the group, the unusual one that's
Yeah. Keep you
not
guys
in
on your
one
toes.
place, traveling
Yeah.
around. So it's okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got all my roots on the East Coast, so it works out.
yeah, yeah, you do. Um, and so how's it gone for you so far? How are you enjoying working with your clients?
Great. I have one right now who's actually a freshman in high school, so it's kind of fun to kind of help her through this whole process from like the right beginning. So, I'm kind of helping go over some film with her and just, talking about college and what she wants to do in college, finding that right fit. But I really enjoy working with her. She's wonderful. And then, I had a transfer that I worked with for a couple of months and we found her a new home really quickly, which she was really great to work with too. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, but just I've made a new Instagram. I'm trying to put myself out there some more and try and find more players to help and get them through this process. So
Yeah, people people listening to this might go, why would a freshman need to start working with an agency? There's a lot of time. They should try doing it on their own. And while I can't disagree with that at all, on the other
hmm
hand, we're unusual as a company because we charge a one-time fee,
hmm
not an annual fee or a
yeah.
monthly fee. And so I often tease with families when I do talk to a younger family, I'll explain to them it's early. There's not a ton for us to do with you,
hmm
so we'll meet every month or two and we'll talk
Yeah.
about how things are going and we'll talk about different ideas, but there's not a whole
hmm
lot to do for you. However, it might be a really bad business model because you get to use me for 4 years, where if a kid
hmm
comes in December of their senior year and we place them in a couple of months, they only got to use me for 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that part of our job, Kendall, is we can alleviate some of the pressure off of the parents,
hmm
number one.
hmm
We can be a neutral, don't have skin in the game third voice to be able
hmm
to help the family talk to their kid and help the and for the player to be able to bounce stuff off of us maybe that they
Yeah.
don't want to share with their parents,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. No, yeah, I mean, she graduates high school in 2028, which sounds crazy. But yeah, we don't have like a lot of stuff to do right now, but I think it's great because that's what I told him. I was like, look, you do this one-time fee and that's it. Then you have access to me for such a long period of time, like even through college. Like I'll be here to answer questions and help you if you need anything. So I mean, it's like, man, you might be stuck with me for 8 years. So which is great. Like I enjoy it. I can help her through any questions she's had, and it's been fun. I've been watching her high school games. She's playing some high school right now, and it's just been exciting to kind of be like a big supporter and just give her some tips and kind of just get her to think about the whole college process and what she's looking for in a college. So I enjoy, starting now. It is difficult when you get someone kind of late in the game, but yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, that's great. And I love having you on staff. And I love that we had a relationship with each other before you came on with SRUSA. I used to
Yeah.
love being able to get on the phone, talk and just talk to you about
hmm
coaching stuff. I remember
Yeah, you helped
some,
me off some ledges, So
yeah, because I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is as a head
Mhm,
coach, but I also got to see firsthand having two different women, female assistant coaches on the men's side,
mhm,
how difficult it was there for them. And so
mhm.
yeah, no, it's great. And I love having you with us. And I love that you're in Northern California. Hopefully, I think
Yeah,
hopefully soon you and I will be able to go out and work an event together.
yeah, that'd be great. You just gotta tell me all the ones you're gonna be at, and I'll try and make it there.
Yeah, no, that'll be good. Well, thanks, Kendall, for joining us. Now, if people are listening to this and they like what they hear from you, I know you do have some capacity. Some of our staff is at full capacity and can't really
Mhm.
take on any kids, but I know that you got some capacity to handle some
Yeah.
clients. So how do people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you? What's the best way? Are you on social media, on email address? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so my email, is Kendall at srusasoccer, .com. I'm
And
always
that's
available for an email.
Kendyl.
L, yep. Little different spelling. And then of course I have my Instagram that I just created. It's Kendyl Baird. So KENDYL BAIRD_SRUSA. And then I believe it's about the same thing, or Kendall Baird on Twitter as well. So any of the socials, you can find me, and email is always open. So
Yeah, and if people want to follow your Insta, you've made some really cool videos and I hope you continue to do that. Just talking about your thoughts, honestly. You're just
hmm
sharing your thoughts with us about the recruiting process and some really cool videos. And I think they can help some players if they want to follow you on Instagram and on Twitter.
yeah, I felt a little awkward. I've never made videos before, but I'm like, this is what the kids are doing now these days, right? So I got to get on there and put my face out there so they know who I am. So I'm giving it a go. So we'll see how it goes.
Honestly, you do a great job. It's been fun
Thanks.
following. Well, that's good. Well, I'll let you go. And before I let you all go at home, I want to tell you about our new product. We've got a
Yeah.
service now called gapyearsoccer.com. So if you guys go to the website gapyearsoccer.com, you can read a little bit about it, what it is. And for most American parents don't understand the concept of a gap year because it's not really been an American thing,
Hmm.
but it's gaining in popularity. In Europe, in South America, it is uncommon for somebody to go straight from high school to college. A lot of players
Yeah.
will take a gap year. So they'll take a year out to either get a job. Sometimes people are traveling around Europe or
Hmm.
just taking some time off. And here in the United States, it started to become more popular for players to take a gap year out. I know my own son,
I would have
Brad.
loved to do that.
Oh, I would have too. It's funny.
Yeah.
So my son Brad was supposed to go to Sonoma State University. They had just won the Division II
Hmm.
national championship, and Marcus Zemer had known my son since he was 10 years old, and recruited him to come play for him. And another friend of mine, Scott Juniper, who coaches at UC Irvine on the women's side now,
Hmm.
had come and done some camps for me, and he's English, and he said, would your son like to go to England for a couple of months after he graduates, before he begins, and he could spend some time in England, spend 3 or 4 weeks over there with Team Bath in Bath,
Yeah.
England, and it was a semi-pro team that he had played for. And I said, I'll ask him. So we asked him, and we ended up
Mm.
sending him over there. It was supposed to be for two
Awesome.
weeks, and they ended up asking him to stay for 2 years. So
Even
so
better.
he did. He stayed for 2 years, and I had to call Marcus and tell Marcus he's not coming. I'm sorry, but he's going to
Uh,
stay over there. Marcus would call me the
yep.
next year. Is he coming back yet? No, he's going to stay for one more
Not
year.
yet. Yeah.
But the result was that he grew up physically and mentally. He came back a completely different
Hmm.
person that my wife and I didn't recognize in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it really helped him have a much more successful collegiate career. It was
Hmm.
much bigger, stronger,
Yeah.
um, more mature, more resilient
Hmm.
human being, having lived away from home and lived in Europe, and frankly, got his butt kicked for 2 years
Yeah.
by kids. His
Yeah.
roommate, he was a goalkeeper, and his roommate was a goalkeeper that had played for Newcastle United's youth team.
All
And my
right.
son was this scrawny, 190 pound, maybe 6 foot
Mm.
one, and this kid was 6'5" monster, probably sat about 240, and he's
Yeah, they're
just a
different over there.
monster. And he had to
Yeah.
compete against that every day. And
Hmm.
yeah, it made him more college ready. So gapyearsoccer.com, the idea is that we've got a connection in Germany for a really good academy that we vetted. I had one of my clients go there and kind of did the homework for us. And Andre Luciano's getting ready to
Mm.
fly over there in next week. I think he
All
leaves.
right.
He's going to go spend some time in Germany and in Austria, looking at another
Amazing.
academy. And then we went to Malaga, Spain, and spent some time at an academy there. Andre and I and Chris Cousins, and spent some time kind of vetting that academy. And then there's another one in England, in the
All
north of
right.
England. Chris Cousins has been spending time with that academy, vetting it. So we've got three academies that we have vetted, that we've got some experience with, and
Awesome.
there's a lot of gap year academies around the world that have been popping
Hmm.
up, Kendall, and some of them
Oh
are
yeah.
horrific. They really don't treat the
Oh
kids
no.
well. I've got a client of
Mm.
mine who took a shot at one in Oviedo, and it was not a good experience for him, and
Mm.
he ended up spending the last of his few months at our academy in Spain, and said it was a much better experience, a much more positive
Yeah.
experience.
Good.
So we've got three academies, three experiences for kids. Two of them take females, the one
Okay.
in Spain and the one in England, and the one in Germany. Hopefully soon they'll be able to take
Awesome.
take females in at their academy. But this idea of spending a year overseas is growing in popularity,
Hmm.
and we're very proud to roll out this product. Gapyearsoccer.com. So for any parents, any players thinking about it, you can go and apply. It's free to apply. You can get on a phone call with one of our specialists, and we'll be able to talk you through it, and find out which of the academies might suit you better. Make an introduction,
Hmm.
take a look at some video, make sure that you're of the right quality, that you can compete at these
Yeah.
levels, and then yeah, connect you at one of the academies over there. So anybody thinking about it, highly recommend that you go to our website, gappyoursoccer.com, apply, have a conversation, and you can decide if it's the right thing for you or not.
Sounds great. I'm excited. You guys are popping up some great stuff.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great for all of our kids, all of our clients, of course. Our SRUSA
Mhm.
clients have been pre-vetted. We already know that they can play. So any of
Yeah,
them that would like to take a gap year, this opportunity's available to any of our clients automatically. So
awesome.
it's a great deal. Thanks, Kendall. And
Yeah, thanks, Don.
yeah, we'll see you at our meeting this next week.
All
And
right, sounds
hopefully you and
good.
I will see each other on the field soon.
Yeah, soon.